Are you ready for bedtime story? I might even tuck you in.
Hi everyone, Grim here. I'm here to read you a story, and as you can tell, I've changed things up a bit. I'm going to read 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey. So, I'm going to read 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey. I'm going to read 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey.
Right, possibly.
I need fucking help. Insert Brandy. Can you please tell me what to do?
Don't say the J word. Don't do it. Don't say the J word. Don't say Don't say the J word.
The fuck? I didn't think that would really happen. I'm going to read 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey. What page shall I pick? I just...
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Hi everyone, Grim here, with more scary stories to tell in the dark. I'm going to be reading The Little Black Dog. Look how cute, it's a sweet puppy. Billy Mansfield said that a little black dog followed him wherever he went, but he was the only one who saw it, so people thought he was kind of crazy. There's nothing wrong with being kind of crazy. To drive the dog away, Billy was always hollering at it, throwing rocks at it. But the dog always came back. Oh, he loves him. We should keep it. The first time Billy saw that dog, was the day he fought Silas Burton. Billy was just a young man then, but the Burton and Billy's family had been feuding for years. When Billy saw Silas riding towards him, he went for his gun, and Burton went for his. Gunfight. How fun. But Billy fired first. He hit Burton in the back. Very cowardly. Knocking him from his horse. Burton's horse ran off, and his gun fell where he couldn't reach it. He lay there on the ground, pleading with Billy not to kill him, but Billy killed him anyway. Such a badass. I love it. Burton's little black dog was with him, and when he was shot, the dog kept licking Burton's face and barking and snarling at Billy. In his anger, Billy killed the dog too. There wasn't much law enforcement in those days, so Billy wasn't arrested. But all that night he heard Burton's dog outside his cabin scratching on his door and barking to be let in. I'm imagining this, Billy said to himself. I shot that dog. It's dead. But the next morning, Billy saw the dog. It was waiting for him outside. From then on, there was not a day he didn't see it. And there wasn't a night he didn't hear it scratching on his door, barking to be let in. From then on, Billy was always finding black dog hairs on the sofa, on the floor, in his bed, even in his food. And the house and the yard stank of dog. That's what Billy said. Whenever somebody told him there wasn't any dog to see, he'd say, maybe you don't see it, but I do. And I'm not any crazier than any of you are. Things went on like that for many years. Then one morning in the middle of the winter, The neighbors didn't see any smoke coming out of Billy's chimney. When they went over to check, Billy wasn't there. A day or so later, they found his body lying in the snow in the field in the back of his cabin. Billy had plenty of enemies, and at first it seemed like somebody might have killed him, but there wasn't a mark on his body. And there wasn't any footprints out there except for Billy's. The doctor said Billy probably died of old age, but there was something odd about his death. When the neighbors found Billy, there were black dog hairs on his clothes. There were even a few on his face. It smelled like a dog had been out there, yet no one had seen a dog anywhere. We need another. Which one shall I read? The window. Look at that. I must show you this. The window. Margaret and her brothers, Paul and David, shared a small house on top of a hill just outside the village. It was so warm one summer's night that Margaret couldn't sleep. Okay. She sat up in bed in the darkness of her room, watching the moon move across the sky. Suddenly, something caught her eye. She saw two small, yellow-green lights moving through the woods near the graveyard at the bottom of the hill. They looked like the eyes of some animal, but she could not make out what kind of creature it was. Soon the creature left the woods and moved up the hill toward the house. For a few minutes, Margaret lost sight of it. Then she saw it coming across the hill. Then she saw it coming across the lawn towards her window. It looked something like a man, and yet it didn't. Margaret was terrified. She wanted to run from her room, but the door was next to her window. She was afraid the creature would see her and break in before she could escape. When the creature turned and moved in another direction, Margaret rushed to the door. But before she could open the door, it was back. Margaret found herself staring through the window at a shrunken face, like that of a mummy. I love mummies. Its yellow-green eyes gleamed like a cat's eyes. She wanted to scream, but she was so frightened that she could not make a sound. I love when my victims can't make a sound. The creature broke the window glass, unlocked the window, and crawled inside. Margaret tried to flee, but the creature caught her. It twisted its long, bony fingers into her hair, pulled her head back, and sank its teeth into her throat. Sounds like a very fun time. Margaret screamed and fainted, but her brothers heard her piercing scream. They rushed to her room, but by the time they got the door unlocked, the creature had fled. Margaret lay on the floor, bleeding and unconscious. While Paul tried to stop the bleeding, David chased the creature down the hill toward the graveyard, but soon he lost sight of it. The police thought it was the work of an escaped lunatic who believed he was a vampire. If you believe it, sometimes it's true. When Margaret recovered, her brothers wanted to move to a place safer where it would be harder to break in, but Margaret refused. The creature would never come back. She was sure of that, but just in case, Paul and David began to keep loaded pistols in their rooms. One night, months later, Margaret was awakened by a scratching sound at the window. When she opened her eyes, there was the same shrunken face staring at her. That night, her brothers heard her cries in time. They chased the creature down the hill, and David shot it in the leg. But the creature managed to scramble over the graveyard wall and disappeared near an old burial vault. The next day, Margaret and her brothers watched as the sexton of the church opened the burial vault. Inside was a horrifying scene. Broken coffins, bones, and rotting flesh were scattered all over the floor. Only one coffin had not been disturbed. When the sexton opened it, there lay the creature with the shrunken face that had attacked Margaret. The telltale. The telltale bullet was in its leg. They did the only thing they knew of. The only thing they knew of to rid themselves of a vampire. The section built a roaring blaze outside the vault and fed the shrunken body to the flames. They watched the body burn until nothing remained but ashes. I would have kept the vampire. At least studied it some. Vampires are fun. I would know. That's all for now. Until next time, stay rotten. What was that? I have no idea what the hell that is.